How are you doing, Joe Ducey, ACT, Colin Granahan, ACT, and with us is Peter Preston. Now, Peter Preston's daughter, Danielle Preston, was glassed and stabbed in a pub in Dublin many years ago. It was called the Goose Tavern, and this is one of Bertie Ahern's locals. There seemed to be a political cover-up after this case, and there was an awful lot of hassle, and the best man to tell you that story is Peter himself. So, would you like to tell us what happened on the night to Danielle and what happened thereafter, yeah?
All this began on the 2nd of May 1999 in the public house called the Bertie Ahern and Co. And this public house normally catered for and served alcohol to 15, 16, 17-year-old children in their dozens for years and years under the nose of Bertie Ahern and the Garda Síochána without ever being prosecuted. Now, for no reason whatsoever, this person shoved the glass into my daughter's face. And my daughter ended up receiving 25 stitches and suffered from severe post-traumatic stress. On the night in question, the staff of that pub were asked on numerous occasions to get an ambulance, call an ambulance for my daughter. And they never did. They called the police all right, because when my daughter went outside that night on her own, and then a few of her friends came out with her, and one of the girls had a camera or a phone, and phoned up an ambulance, and the ambulance, whoever was answering the phone, turned around and said there was no ambulance phone. So my daughter was left out there, and that pub didn't give a damn about my daughter. Now, as soon as this happened to my daughter, and the evidence will prove this pub set in motion a conspiracy against my daughter, because they knew quite well that there was a civil case coming down the line against them. And involved in that conspiracy was the pub and staff, Gardaí, witnesses that were there that night that changed statements, solicitors, barristers, a High Court judge, and Bertie Ahern. And the evidence will prove all this. Now, in the civil case my daughter took against the pub, they raised my daughter of everything that's human, or human rights, constitutional rights, or civil rights, or dignity. And they threatened, intimidated and bullied my daughter and my wife, all to protect Bertie Ahern, who was Taoiseach at the time. Because if any of this would have come out at that time, Bertie Ahern would have never been Taoiseach anymore, because he was inside the Dáil talking about the consequences of underage drinking and drugs and everything else, and turning a blind eye to it going on for years and years.
We know Bertie Ahern turned a blind eye to many things when he was in government.
Well, he turned a blind eye to this, to a 19-year-old girl who was severely post-traumatic. He was involved in a conspiracy against my daughter, a 19-year-old severely post-traumatic stress girl.
And so what happened when these people were arrested, or how were they?
Well, they were allowed to walk out of that pub. Two of these thugs, vicious, savage thugs, left this pub that night and were allowed past the doorman, who I believe 99% certain were off-duty Gardaí, and let them go without holding them to be arrested. And they were allowed to leave this jurisdiction for at least 4 months. And it took me and my wife many trips down to the Garda station to get this person arrested that shoved the glass into my daughter's face. So I'm going to push on, and I'm going to go past the civil case, because what was done to my daughter, as I said, you wouldn't do to an animal. Right? And all to protect Bertie Ahern. Now, early in 2003, I brought transcripts and files of this civil case down to Joe Costello and explained the whole situation, what happened to my daughter, and who was involved in this conspiracy against my daughter. And I went down to him weekly or fortnightly, and for about 8 weeks before I got them back in December 2003, I went down to him and I told him, every week I went up to him and I asked him that I wanted the transcripts and files back, and he kept putting it back and putting it back and putting it back for at least 8 weeks, and I finally got them off, the transcripts and files. And I went home that evening and checked out the transcripts and files, went over them. Transcripts were missing. Some of the transcripts were missing, and files, or some of the transcripts were changed and files were missing.
That's just typical in Ireland.
Yeah.
We were experiencing that daily in the Boats area.
Yeah. So I took my protest to Clontarf police station, to the guards that was involved in this, all this stuff that went on against my daughter. They were involved in the conspiracy against my daughter. And I went on protest outside that police station. And Finny McGrath's independent TD, Finny McGrath's sister, came along and met me there and explained to me who she was and told me that Finny McGrath was her brother and that she'd let Finny McGrath know what was going on. Finny McGrath is my local TD. And Finny McGrath got in contact with me in January 2004. And I met him around the corner from where I live, on the Malahide Road. And I shook hands with Finny McGrath. I didn't know who he was. He introduced himself to him. And the first words I said to Finny McGrath was, "Finny, this is probably how you were decked." And I said that to him because he was an independent TD and letting him know how serious this was. And so he said, "Oh, this is what you have to say." He came round to my home, and for 3/4 of an hour he sat in my home and I explained the whole case to him, everything that went on. And when Finny McGrath was leaving my home, I shook hands with him again and I said to him, "Finny, I'd rather you do nothing for me than do anything against me."
Yeah.
That's what I said to him when I left it in his hands. And so within a few days I got word back from Finny that he's taken on this case. I have his support, that I have his support, and so forth and so forth. And then a few days later I got word back from Finny that Michael McDowell, Finny was starting to ask questions in the Dáil, written questions to Michael McDowell, who was then Minister for Justice at the time. And I kept getting these answers back, and Finny was posting them on to me, the answer that he was getting off Michael McDowell. And this went on and on and on. And in 2005, Finny McGrath made a statement in the Dáil on the Offence Against the State Act. And Finny McGrath acknowledged that a miscarriage of justice against my daughter had occurred. Now, I have the evidence of this political cover-up in the Department of Justice documents. Irrefutable evidence. And that statement that Finny McGrath made in the Dáil, he acknowledged, as I said, miscarriage of justice against my daughter. That statement was kept from me.
For how long?
6 years.
6 years?
6 years that was kept from me. And a friend of mine found that on the internet and passed it on to me. That was in 2005 on the 16th of June. The following year I went out on hunger strike, not knowing anything about this statement. And every TD and sender inside that Dáil knew everything I was saying was the truth. Every one of them.
Just to put in there, Peter, you did 64 days of a hunger strike.
Yeah.
And the TDs within the Dáil knew what you were doing the hunger strike for, and so did Finian.
Oh, they all knew.
And they never came out and told you?
Not one came out and told me anything about that statement.
And
If I'd have known about that statement, I'd have never had to go on hunger strike. I could have walked off that statement.
And just to say, every one of them TDs, it was outside the Dáil that you had your tent.
Outside the Dáil in the tent.
And they all walked past you in and out every day.
Not one of them saw fit to bring forward that statement to me. That would have taken me straight off my hunger strike.
So they would have preferred to see you die
than
see you get justice.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
Now, so they had to be covering up something very, 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 very sinister.
Yeah.
They had to be. Now, I treated grandchildren at the time 4 months, 4 years of age, 6 years of age. I had 3 children. I had a wife, mother, father, brothers, sisters, and they did not give a damn about none of my grandchildren, children, wife, mother, father, brothers, sisters, nothing. On the 57th day of my hunger strike, I had a meeting with Michael McDowell, Department of Justice, the Minister for Justice at the time. And Finny McGrath came with me and a friend of mine, a formal meeting, and not one word was mentioned about that statement. And if I'd have known about that statement even then, I'd have gone straight off that hunger strike. They never told me nothing about it, so we went straight back out on that hunger strike and carted off the hospital 7 days later. Now what kind of TD, senator, so-called public representatives would do that to a man that was telling the truth, they knew was telling the truth?
What do you think it is? Is it honour amongst thieves between all the TDs and politicians? Are they all in the same boat, or?
Well, Joe, it has to be the culture of the system, and systemic. It's not only systematic, it's systemic. This is a blatant cover-up.
It seems to be a case of protect the corrupt elite all the time, and I mean, years later we know Bertie Ahern's history.
Oh yes, yeah.
And we know what Michael McDowell, Minister of Misjustice, just another cog in the wheel. I don't think we've ever had a straight Minister of Justice in this country. I know we definitely haven't had a straight Taoiseach, and we definitely haven't had a straight political party. But it's absolutely thousands of people now that are suffering and cannot get justice. It's either political or it's legal. It's the judges, it's the guards. But you're Danielle and yourself are just another victim in that society.
You betcha, life, Joe.
Yeah.
But I tell you, Joe, look, I was blind. I was blind, and now I can see. I'll put it that way to you.
Well, what happens is a lot of people are coming forward, and it takes great guts and great courage to do it. And it's a case of people like you coming forward with your story, getting it out there, and waking people up to the facts that our leaders are not all they're cracked up to be.
Yeah. And before you go, I'd like to ask you about who was the leader of the opposition party at the time.
Yeah, it was Eddie Kenny, and his duty to all of us. Eddie Kenny's duty to all of us was to hold Bertie Ahern's government to account while I was on hunger strike.
Yeah.
I never did. Right? And while I'm on hunger strike, the person who shot the glass into my daughter's face was arrested with €8 million worth of heroin and 5 Glock guns. And is walking, never done a day's jail.
And we know that Gardaí deal heroin because we've had it with the Garda whistleblower Nicky Keogh down in Athlone, where Gardaí were dealing heroin to upscale the crime figures. And we know from another girl, Orla Roach, that the Gardaí down there in Athlone planted €75,000 worth of heroin in her car to frame her. And that, God bless Nicky Keogh, the whistleblower, he came out and saved her. What would she be doing?
Well, I can go into another one. There's Kieran Boylan.
Yeah, that's another case.
Was arrested with 1.4 million worth of drugs.
Yeah.
And all the opposition in 2008. And all the opposition were on the government's back in the Dáil. And yet the person who shot the glass into my daughter's face was arrested with over 4 times that amount, plus 5 Glock guns and ammunition, and not a word.
Yeah. But you see, this is it, isn't it, Colin? And we've witnessed it a lot, that when someone of a political status or, you know, elite Garda or whatever, the length of the cover-ups is unbelievable. Yeah, like a 5'8" like you and me and Colin,
Joe,
we're not going to get
Joe,
justice.
this has gone past my daughter.
Yeah.
Right? I have 3 grandchildren.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Or 6 grandchildren, sorry, from the age of 5 now up to 16. Yeah. And remember, drugs is a root cause of mental health problems, suicide, and child abuse, neglect, crime, violence, you name it. And every single TD and centre inside that dog, right, is protecting a drug and gun baron and the Goose Tavern pub that serves alcohol to 15, 16, 17-year-old children to cover up the political immorality that left me to die outside that door in 2006. And that's the bottom line here.
I know you've been fighting for years, and myself and Colin have been fighting for years as well. And we have to get a message out there that it's time for everyone to get up off their arse at this stage.
Oh, and because if you don't, well, it's not for me. It's for my children and grandchildren, and for all our children and grandchildren, for a just, fair, safe and decent society for this and future generations that's coming up. How dare they do that? They're getting well paid with pension to do their jobs.
And they're scamming us out.
And they brought in children's rights referendum to protect the welfare and safety and protection of our children, right? After all the abuse case that went on in the church and everything else. And every single TD and centre is violating then Children First guidelines by protecting a major drug and gun baron and the Goose Tavern pub to cover up the political immorality that left me to die outside the door. The initial cover-up began to protect Bertie Ahern, right, and it could conceal his conspiracy and miscarriage just against my daughter. And now, the bigger, much bigger cover-up, right, is unreal. It's inhumane. That's what it is. And the Children First guidelines, right, is for the protection protection, welfare and safety of all our children. Now what kind of public representative TV centre sacrifices children's lives and mental health, etc., 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 to protect and to cover up a political scandal of their own making?
Yeah, well, Peter, would you be concerned now the fact that you're aware of the whistleblowers and the ways that they're treated, and by telling the truth of what happened in your case, that you may be targeted after this?
Well, I don't care I'm targeted, to be quite honest with you, because I will never stop this. I will never stop this. We deserve better. We, Ireland and our society, right, deserve a lot better than we're ordinary people. We're ordinary people, decent people trying to rear families, and the culture and system in this country is rotten to the core. And I can prove that. I have evidence. I have Finney McGrath on loads of text messages, but on a certain text message telling me that yes, there is a political covering up of a conspiracy and miscarriage of justice against my daughter. And what more can you get? I have statements from oh, by the way, Finney McGrath also, when Enda Kenny made his statement, his crime report all statement, on the 20th of July 2011, that went all over the world attacking the Vatican, that this will never happen in 24th century Ireland again. The protection of our children first as sacrosanct.
Yes.
On the same day he made that statement, Finney McGrath made a statement as well on the crime report and dedicated it all to me and commended me for carrying on, in his words, my magnificent protest on the issues of child abuse, neglect and the drugs issues, and I'm still outside the door on my campaign to expose all this what's going on, to have a better origin for this and future generations.
Well, all I can say, Peter, is admire you and admire your spirit for coming out and
Thanks,
your bravery for coming out to make this video. And I hope a lot more will follow in your footsteps. People are waking up and fair play.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Thank you.
No,